All right, everyone, good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 21st, 2023 meeting of the Jersey Village City Council. The time is now 7 o'clock p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum present of council?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to invocation and pledge of allegiance by Dr. Avery Lamel.
Let us go to God in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for your bountiful mercies, for your amazing grace, and how you continue to bestow your favor upon this city, upon our council, led by our mayor. We thank you so much for our chiefs and how you've protected them as they serve this wonderful community. We ask, God, that you would place a hedge of protection not only around them, but as I think of all of our first responders, I ask, Father, that you give them wisdom and discernment as they serve the community in excellence, that you would let this be a haven and a refuge to all the residents, that they might always be at peace. Father, we ask that you would draw us closer to yourself as we look to you, that every day we live would be one of gratitude. And we ask that all the decisions that are made in this meeting and the meetings to come be to your glory and your honor. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pastor. We appreciate it. All right. We are now moving on to citizens' comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda, the city staff and city council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policy. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to the city council. And just to be clear, we do have, in addition to our general public comment tonight, we do have 2 public hearings. So do let me know if for some reason you've accidentally filled out a public comment card instead of a public hearing card. But I do have 2 cards for public comments. The first I have is from Rick Faircloth.
I'm Rick Faircloth, 16010 Lakeview, just right down the street. I've got a couple of comments to speak to tonight. One is our golf cart issue. I guess everybody knows about the tragedy that happened in Town Lake recently, where a car and a golf cart came into contact with each other and 3 people were killed. My big concern is for children on the golf carts. I've seen personally, and my wife both, have seen people driving golf carts with small children in their lap. One lady had an infant strapped across her chest, and I'm just real concerned that if there's ever an accident, we're going to have a major issue. And the biggest one I saw the other day is that somebody had installed 2 car seats on the very end of a golf cart, pointing the other way with 2 children in it. I just can't believe that people are not taking the responsibility, the families that are operating these. So I've also seen 3 or 4, and I've sent a couple to Chief Riggs. There's still folks out here that don't have their official registration tag on those that are still here. That's been in an ordinance since January of this year. The next one is that after our meeting last month, y'all were discussing about going forward with the bond referendum, and I had made a comment in a letter that I sent, or an email I sent to everybody on council. Mayor did respond to me about allowing or making a provision that any of those folks that are over 65, and it's just like the school district does in the county, be exempt from any tax increase. And then the other thing is on the bond election. When I saw the stuff on the webpage, it's broken down in a lot of detail. What's going to happen in the water and the ETJ, what's about the parks and about the pool and the streets. But now when I see what's going to actually be voted on, you've combined the parks and the pools in one area, and of course the water and the sewer, some for here, some for the ETJ, and of course all the streets and the bridge. I've had a number of senior citizens call me and said, how do you think that's going to, why can't we vote on it individually? Why does it have to be lumped through like that? So there's a lot of them that are not, may be in favor for one part of that, but not in favor for another, and then both of them could get voted down. But that's kind of my comments. I don't know what provisions that can be changed or not changed. I know it's going to be on the agenda tonight about the ordinance, but that's my comments, and thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Rick. The last comment card I have is from Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 23rd installment on Jersey Village, 1994 could have had even better successes, such as if Forrest Gump ran with the breweries group to burn off that box of chocolates. Seinfeld chatted while eating at Mr. Donut, and Mariah Carey sang Hero as she graduated from the Jersey Village Police and Fire Citizens Academy. Jersey Lake is 22 acres owned by Lakeside Club, of which the 54 lots extend to the water's edge with a 20-foot easement granted for sidewalks for the homeowners' member access. There was concern of 12 lots without a fence, which installing could help prevent injuries on the lake, unallowed persons, and vandalism, as even signage and police presence were not enough, so ordinances and bylaws were discussed. The court administrator advised that teen court, which began in April 1993, has had 3 trials as of January for this school year, and all 5 Cy-Fair ISD high schools are participating, so they requested to hold 2 trials a month instead of just 1, with our city court easily providing the facility and cases and judge. There was much discussion of improvements to Clark Henry Park, such as constructing a jogging trail around the perimeter, replacing parts of the sports fields for safety and water drainage, plus installing a slide at the pool, along with a balance beam and a 45-foot tire dragon to be named Tyrannosaurus, built by Eagle Scouts. The police department requested approval of an interlocal agreement with Harris County to access their online criminal charges filing system, while the hardware and software cost of $2,089 was budgeted as part of the new police facility. This would save several hours for travel to other agencies to use their access. The police also requested to purchase 6 800 megahertz radios for direct communication with Harris County on their system. The lowest bid was unanimously awarded for construction of the new police facility for a contract price of $931,800, which included a covered front walkway with brick arches. The groundbreaking ceremony was March 14th, and a photo with a brief history of the police department is on display in their entryway. The construction of the Jack-in-the-Box prompted updating the impact fee ordinance structure for increased utility access, as there was growing interest in the commercial development along the 290 feeder road. A comparison of tax exemptions with other cities in Harris County showed Jersey Village had no homestead exemption, $50,000 for over 65 years old with 183 homes qualifying, and $3,000 for disabled statuses with approximately 20 homes qualifying. A member of the fire department spent 5 months checking all homes for smoke detectors, of which 51 did not have any. It was also encouraged that sleeper recreational vehicles have smoke detectors installed. A Village Drive Townhomes resident requested the speed be reduced from 30 miles an hour, as backing out was difficult due to the curve in the road, while another resident added that cars parked on driveways block the street view. Council accepted the repainting of the elevated water storage tank on Village Drive that was completed in May with an expected paint life of 7 years. There were many complaints about the city's telephone system, and the company that made the equipment was no longer in business. So staff and council spent a few months discussing options and priorities, such as contracts, pricing, maintenance, number of lines, and if the contract could overlap with the fiscal year. A need to safely turn left from southbound Jones onto Village Green must be presented to TxDOT if no right on red sign is at the 290 feeder road, or to Harris County for a left turn only traffic signal on Jones Road. More to come of 1994 next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. We appreciate it. Okay, so I've got to call a little bit of an audible here on the order of the agenda because of the fact that there is a tax-related item in the consent agenda, and so I am going to go ahead and call the consent agenda out of order. So we're moving on to item G in the agenda, and then we will come back to item E. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration during the regular agenda? Or if it's a tax-related item, immediately after this?
I'd like to remove G5.
Just double checking. So that's regarding the utility rate study?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's correct.
We will consider that at the top of the regular agenda. Any other items that a council member would like to pull from the consent agenda? If there are none, I would entertain a motion on the revised consent agenda.
I move that we accept we approve the revised consent agenda minus G5.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. So with that, we are going to backtrack to item E. We're going to E1, discuss and take appropriate action concerning any final changes to the proposed 2023-2024 municipal budget. Isabel Cato, Finance Director.
The local section 102.007 of the local government code provides that upon closing the public hearing on the proposed budget, the governing body of the municipality shall take action on the proposed budget. In doing so, the governing body may make any changes to the budget that it considers warranted by the law that is the best interest of the municipal taxpayers. Included in this agenda, we added some changes that to the budget, and it's a list of changes. So, do you want me to read them all?
That is up to council. Are there any particular items that council needs further details on some of these changes?
I guess for staff, one of the big monotonous increases looks to be to dental insurance. Did that premium go up since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, that premium went up a little bit before we had the rates.
And I think some of the other items we had already talked about during during the retreat. And okay.
Yeah, in the insurance items, we got a more firm quote. Before we had percentages, so we were estimating, but we got the firm quote from them between the time we had the budget to today.
Do any other council members have questions about the changes to the budget? Okay. If there's no further discussion, we do have we do need to approve the budget revisions. Or not. Meaning, I mean, there needs to be a motion one way or another.
Is that item 1 or item 2?
It is on E1, yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-24 municipal budget
But we're not actually-
proposed. I'm sorry, revisions. How do you want me to restate that?
Okay, so to be clear, the motion is to approve the budget revisions contained in this memo.
Correct.
Correct.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, just to be clear, I want to make sure. Okay, so this does not require a record vote. Okay. All of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. That brings us to item E2. Consider ordinance number 2023-17, adopting the City of Jersey Village municipal budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. Isabel Cato, Finance Director.
Okay.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I interrupt really quickly?
Sure.
My sound is an echo, so I'm having a very hard time understanding anything anybody is saying.
Okay. We will. We will.
Can I do a breakout room with Abram really quickly?
Yes. Why don't we take a we're going to pause the meeting just very quickly to see if there's a quick solution.
It's just an echo, so I can't understand anything anybody's saying. I could hear you fine earlier. It sounds like I'm hearing it like from the back of the room. I know that was Bobby, but I don't know what he said.
Sorry, Michelle. I was just testing to see if there was if you were getting sound both from the microphone and from the sound system.
Bobby, can you say something again?
No.
Oh, that was much better.
Oh, can I say something again? I thought
That is something.
apparently you're not the only one having difficulty hearing. I thought I thought you said, did I say something? Oh, is it better? Is the echo gone?
I can understand him a little better with my earpods. Okay. As long as I can
how's
hear
that?
what you're saying.
Can you hear us?
Abram, I can hear you perfect. It's just them. They sound like I'm listening to them from very far away. Is it just the microphone? Oh, okay.
How's that sound, Michelle?
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Okay, that's what it is.
Sorry.
It's just okay, that makes sense. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Sorry, I think we were just beginning Isabel's explanation of the approval of the budget.
Okay, so action agenda E2. Council has held the public hearings on the proposed budget for the fiscal year 23-24, and the proposed budget has been filed with the city secretary. Section 102-007 of the local government code requires that after conclusion of the public hearing on the budget, the city council shall take action on the proposed budget. In addition, a vote to adopt the budget must be a record vote. So the staff is recommending that City Council adopt the budget for the fiscal year 23-2024 that includes the recommended changes discussed in the previous item.
Okay. And now discussion amongst council.
I move we approve ordinance 2023-17, adopting the municipal budget.
I'll second.
Okay, this does require a record vote. I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion or nay to signify your disapproval. Councilmember Wasson, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Shepherd, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchum, state your vote. Michelle, was that a yes? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Singleton, state your vote.
Aye.
And Councilmember McCray, state your vote.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. That now brings us to item E3, conduct a separate vote to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the 2023-2024 budget adopted on August 21st, 2023. Isabel Cato, Finance Director.
Okay, so Council had adopted a budget that would raise more revenue, more property taxes than last year by $1,006,7769, which is a 13.55% increase from last year's budget. On the amount of $106,816 is tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year. Section 102.007C of the Local Government Code states that a governing body adopting a budget that requires raising more revenue from property taxes than in the previous year must conduct a separate vote to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the newly adopted budget. This vote also must be a record vote that is in addition to and separate from the vote adopting the budget or the vote required to set the tax rate that is provided for by Chapter 26 tax code or other law.
Great. Thank you, Isabel. Discussion amongst council on this item.
Just to confirm, the tax rate is the same as it was last year, correct?
Yeah. Property tax values have gone up. So if retail prices go up, your sales tax stays the same. The state generates more revenue, just like we're generating more revenue with property values going up. So it's very similar to that, Sherry.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I don't think there's a motion. Did I move too far ahead here?
It's moved to ratify.
Yeah.
So it is very archaic, but it's what's required under state law. We basically, they make us vote on it like 5 times before it actually happens.
Yep. Now I see it. So I move to ratify the property tax increase of 13.55% reflected in the newly adopted municipal budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I will second that.
I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion or nay to signify your disapproval. Councilmember Wasson, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Shepherd, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchum, state your vote. Is that an aye?
Aye. I'm sorry.
For some reason,
myself.
Yeah,
Aye.
the audio was a little shaky there, but I heard you that second time. Councilmember Singleton, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember McCray, state your vote.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. That now brings us to item E4, conduct a public hearing on the proposed tax rate increase. I now call to order this public hearing on the tax rate increase. Everyone desiring to speak at this hearing should complete a public hearing comment card and present the card to the city secretary. The purpose of the public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to express support for or opposition to the maximum proposed tax rate of $0.855245 per $100, a rate that exceeds the lower of the voter approval rate or the no new revenue rate. The tax rate that is required for the budget that was presented tonight is $0.7425. I would now like to request the City Finance Director, Isabel Cato, to summarize the subject of this public hearing.
Okay, this item is to conduct a public hearing on the proposed tax rate increase. The purpose of the public hearing is to give all persons the right to express support or opposition for the proposed tax rate. The necessary steps leading up to conducting the public hearing involve calculating the no-new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, as this information is needed in order to properly publish notice of the public hearing. On July 27, 2023, we received a calculation from Harris County. And due to this calculation, the proposed tax rate was presented here, which is proposed tax rate of 0.855245, non-new revenue tax rate of 0.652541, voter approval rate of 0.767816, and the de minimis rate of 0.690887. On August 14, the city was notified by Harris County that they discovered an error in the calculation regarding line 3B, which is the 2023 HCAT tax rate worksheet, and corresponding to line 10B of the state controller tax rate truth in taxation calculations. We went ahead and corrected the information. We were not the only ones with the problem. There was like a long list of jurisdiction with the same problem. So we went ahead and fixed the correction. The only change was on the non-new revenue tax rate. Everything stayed the same. So while the proposed tax rate for our requires notices of 0.855245, the tax rate that we use to generate the property tax revenue for the budget being presented tonight is 0.7425.
Okay, great. Thank you, Isabel. I have one comment card related to I assume for the tax rate from Jim Fields. Okay, just to be clear, this is the only public hearing that is still left that has anything to do with, at least with the budget specifically, unless you were here to talk about the proposed change to the retirement for our employees. Because we already had our public comment. This is the only time you can comment on the subject that you've presented on the card. And just to be clear, not on the code issues, just on the budget.
No, yes. Mayor, City Council, my name is Jim Fields. I live at 16413 St. Helier, and thank you for allowing me to contribute to tonight's meeting. First thing I want to say, we ought to pray for rain. We need it really bad here. I can tell our shrubberies, everybody is suffering. But moving on here, I did a brief analysis real quick on all the salaries of all the departments. I start off with police all the way down to fleet services. What's interesting to me is that the parks is in the top 5. Below that is accounting services, infotech, water, and sewer. That blows my mind. So here we're having a bond for water and sewer, but we're putting more money into parks. This is just salaries, $530,000. Water and sewer is $275,000, and streets are $263,000. I think we should focus on our streets, water, and sewer first. Another thing that was kind of interesting was customer service. No, not the other one I like. Was community development, $235,000. I have no clue what they do. Maybe we ought to define. Advertisers let us know so we know what we're getting. Also, what's kind of also odd is another thing I was going to say. Request is we currently in the TRMS. People can put up to 7% in it, and we match 2-to-1. These are hard times. I think it should be 1-to-1, not 2-to-1. Another thing that was kind of odd, and maybe this just has to do with hiring all the people in the budget, and this is just salaries again, was I went through here, and it's funny, the police department is 8.21%. And again, this is just the total salary as a collection on an average. The highest one that kicked in was building maintenance, 61%. And the parks was 39%. Blows my mind. We're more interested in entertainment than taking care of business. I think it's very concerning. I think it needs to be corrected. Now, can I comment on anything else after this?
As long as it's pertinent to the tax rate hearing we're holding right now.
Okay. Because I thought we generally have a comment section for the city council in general.
We already had that.
Okay. Well, I gave that to the city secretary prior to that.
No, you gave your comment card after that public comment
No, I did
period.
not.
I saw you, Jim.
No,
Jim, do you have anything else to add regarding the tax?
I shook his hands. I was here early, Mayor.
Do you have anything else to add regarding this public hearing?
That was ridiculous. That's wrong, Mayor. I had it up there. I talked to Mark. I put it up there. That was wrong, Mayor.
She should tell you that.
That's wrong.
Jim, look,
I put it up there. I shook hands with
the
Mark.
time. If you had spoken up during the public comment period, I would have been glad to let you go ahead and speak. Well,
It doesn't make any difference, Mayor. Why can't I still have my time? It wasn't my fault that she didn't hand the comment.
Jim, we're in the middle of a public hearing. State law requires us to stay on content for this particular hearing.
That was wrong. I
Okay.
still should have.
Jim, if anything you'd like to address to all of the council members after the meeting, you are happy to do so. I will stay afterward and listen to you as long as you want. Okay, I have no other public comment cards for this public hearing. So there being no one else desiring to speak, I now close the public hearing on the tax rate increase.
Jim, hold on. Can you wait 5 minutes? I'm waiting for this item to finish, and I'm going to say something. Is that it?
Let's see. If council wants to address that, let's wait until we get through the tax portion here, and then we can deal with that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item E5, discuss and consider approval of a motion to set the tax rate for debt service for tax year 2023. Okay, adoption of the debt service tax rate must be a separate item on the agenda for the meeting. The council must adopt the tax service tax rate by official action, and the rate must equal the calculated and described debt service rate outlined in section 26.04E3C of the tax code. The staff recommends that council adopt the debt service tax rate of 0.102215 per $100 value for the tax year 2023. The suggested motion for this item is below in the memo. Discussion amongst council.
So just to be clear, this is just the portion of the tax rate that affects debt service.
Correct, and it's the portion we have to pay, or else we're not like the federal government. We actually pay our debts.
Right. So we've already approved a tax rate, and yeah, okay,
yeah.
And this is just approving we have to approve the calculation that is given to us by the state. So it's not like we've made any decisions here. This is simply going through the motion of what's required by the state.
It's a matter of what has to be taxed against the property values in order to pay the debts that were long ago taken out.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve setting the debt service tax rate of 0.102215 per $100 value for the year 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I believe this does not require. Sorry, there was a motion and second. Yeah. And my understanding is this does not require a record vote. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor?
Hold on.
Sorry.
Just real clear, it's for tax year 2024.
Do I need should I restate that for 2024?
It would be for tax year 2023-2024, right, for the budget year, yeah. So I assume that
Can we make that amendment, or do I
just revise the motion?
I'd like to revise the motion.
No, you can just revise it to reflect.
Revise the motion to reflect 2024.
Okay. And I assume your second is still good with that. Yeah. Okay, good. Not to be pedantic, but it's probably best when it comes to this stuff. Don't need tax year 2024.
Yes.
All right. If everyone's good, we have a motion and a second. All of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. That brings us to item E6, discuss and consider approval of a motion to set the tax rate for maintenance and operation for tax year 2023. Sorry, for 2024, yes. Sorry, I'm having a Ron Burgundy moment, just reading what I'm given here. Okay, adoption of the maintenance and operation tax rate must be a separate item on the agenda for the meeting. The adoption of this tax rate will take place after adopting the budget for the year. A maintenance and operations, or M&O, tax rate of 0.640285 per $100 value for the tax year 2024 is needed to fund the 2023-2024 municipal budget. However, the governing body, i.e. us, is permitted to set an M&O tax rate not higher than $0.665601, which is the voter approval M&O tax rate. Depending upon the amount set, there is a suggested motion in the memo for this item. Discussion amongst council.
I'm going to move to approve setting the M&O tax rate of 0.640285 per $100 value for the year 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Singleton, a second from Councilmember McCray. Any further discussions on this item? And again, I believe that does not require a record vote. And so all of those in favor of the motion? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. And that brings us to item E7, consider ordinance number 2023-18, providing for the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes by the city of Jersey Village, Texas for the year 2023. 2024, thank you. This is going to be an ongoing, well, luckily this is the last item. Council is required to adopt the ordinance setting the tax rate for the debt service, setting the tax rate for maintenance and operation, and setting the total tax rate for the year 2023. In setting the 2023 ad valorem tax rate, the governing body may not set a tax rate that exceeds the voter approval rate of 0.767816, which, if set, is effectively a 19.15% increase in the tax rate compared to last year. In setting the tax rate, it should be noted that if a rate of 0.7425 is used, it is effectively a 15.22% increase in the tax rate compared to last year. Either one of these rates are needed to fund the 2023-2024 municipal budget. All these rates exceed the no new revenue tax rate and the standard voter approval tax rate, but not the unused increment voter approval tax rate. The standard voter approval tax rate may be adjusted by using the city's unused increment from prior years as allowed by Section 26.013 of the tax code. The unused increment rate is the difference between the adopted tax rate and the voter approval tax rate accumulated over a 3-year period. Using this banked unused increment rate allows us to exceed the standard voter approval tax rate without automatically triggering an election. The vote on the ordinance setting a tax rate that exceeds the no new revenue tax rate must be a record vote, and at least 60% of the members of the governing body must vote in favor of the ordinance. A motion to adopt an ordinance setting a tax rate that exceeds the no new revenue tax rate must be made in the following form. And it says, this is just as an example, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of, and then the amount, which is effectively a blank % increase in the tax rate, depending on what that amount is. And so, even though we just set the M&O rate and we just set the debt rate, and this is simply a matter of addition, we have to go through this process. So, discussion amongst council.
I move to approve ordinance 2023-18, providing for the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes by the city of Jersey Village for the year 2024, providing for the date on which such taxes shall be due and payable, and providing for penalty and interest on all taxes not timely paid. I further move that the property tax is be increased by the adoption of the tax rate of 0.7425, which is effectively a 15.22% increase in the tax rate.
I'll make a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Singleton, second by Councilmember McCray. Yes, it is a record vote, and I apologize. I don't know if I actually need to read the preface here, but just as a precaution, just to assure we're on the same page. Well, I guess you already read it, so I don't really have to repeat it. I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion, or nay to signify your disapproval. Councilmember Wasson, state your vote.
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Shepard, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchum, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember McCray, state your vote.
Aye.
The ordinance passes unanimously.
Mayor, Can I ask the city secretary, Mr. Fields has a reputation of always being here every month and normally timely provides a comment card. Do you know if that comment card was provided before or after, or are we unsure on when it was actually provided?
I don't know, and I frankly missed it. I didn't even realize it was there.
Not a problem. Thank you. Mayor, can we adjust and provide him his 5 minutes to speak during citizen comments?
If you want to make that motion.
I move that we adjust the rules and allow Mr. Fields to have his 5 minutes of citizen comments.
And I would second that.
So
we
would
have
I.
a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yeah.
The motion passes unanimously. Jim, if you want to go ahead and we'll do the normal 5 minutes.
With me. Councilman Singleton, very moving. Thank you. And Mayor, thank you for putting it to a vote.
Doing what's right.
And thank you, City Council, for allowing me to speak. I'll make it quick here. Which bond includes A, B, or C for the $6 million for water and sewer lines in the ETJ? That was one question. Also, I think the citizens should, and it's probably already been done here, the citizens should make the decision on early retirement. I understand we're going to try to move it from 25 years to 20 years. It has a big impact, and we should vote on it. And I had a question on that one, too. Does this include, once they retire, free health care for the rest of their lives? I don't know if it follows the state or not. The bond survey, I think, needs to be improved because it went by zip code, and everybody it just can't be trusted, Mayor. Just want to give you a heads up. I don't know if you knew that. You just put in 77040, and you can vote as many times as you want. Also, another thing I couldn't get an answer on was the videos and the public hearings in July. I just curious, they failed, and I asked the city, Lori Cootie, the city secretary, I said, what's going to be done to stop this from happening? Never got an answer. I hope we can get an answer on it. And then problems to resolve, I just think this would help the city. Electronic speed limit signs operate differently. Some blink before you get to the speed limit. Some blink when after you get to the speed limit. I think they all should be the same. If you hit 30 or go above that, it starts blinking. But they don't all do that, so can we please take care of that? There's a water sprinkler on at noon. We have a tough time with water right now. That needs to be fixed. Street light is on all the time here on Rio Grande. What's really unsettling, not really unsettling, the area on Seattle Slough where they have a retention pond, whatever you call it, is largely overgrown, and I don't understand why, at least on the city side of it, I don't know who's taking care of it. If it is the county mayor, if you could let them know, hey, we're proud of our city. The city bushes are dying and weeds everywhere. I'm not sure what's happening. I thought we had sprinklers. And I know we're in a drought situation, so if that's the reason why we're cutting back on water, then I understand. Code's not enforced. Again, Mayor, I brought this to your attention again. Junk cars, trailers, broken garage doors. One of them was really, couldn't believe it, was there's a hole probably about this big in the side of somebody's house. That's very easy to see. It's funny, when I was running for office, I was called out for peeling paint on my rent house. But all these other things go, just ignored, so I don't understand that. Another thing that, Mayor, you probably don't know, the building inspector needs to be, schooled. I had a new driveway put in my house, and I noticed the new ones being put in, whoever's approving this, or maybe they don't have a permit, Mayor, I don't know what the situation really is. When you have a new driveway going into the street, you have to cut 6 inches into it and put it in there. It's not happening. And those people buying it, eventually it's going to break off right there. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Also, I ask the city manager here, sometimes I ask him questions and he doesn't respond. One was I asked him on the code enforcement of the cars. He said, where are they? I said, no. Why don't you drive around the town and I'll compare notes with you. Never got nothing. Then also on the pool, same problems again, people eating in the pool. The lifeguards, zero patronage. They could care less if you're there or not. And again, they're just non-caring, not paying attention. And again, I sent an email to the city manager, said, hey, here are all the issues. Can you please see this is a Red Cross pool management guide to resolve these issues? Not a response back. That's all I ask. Just and pray for rain again. Thank you guys very much. Councilman Singleton, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will actually, Austin, since I was CC'd on at least for sure the email regarding the lifeguard situation, he did respond to you and did let you know that we would be looking into some of those issues and providing explanation for each of those. And he also asked you if you could provide the specific portions of the lifeguard booklet that you were referencing. And unless I was not on the email, we never got a response to his question regarding that. So just to be clear, I've never known Austin not to respond to an email to which there was a question asked from a citizen. So if ever that happens again, Jim, where you feel like you did not get an adequate answer or you didn't get an answer at all, please do feel free to go ahead and forward that to me, because it's something that we can address much more easily when it happens as opposed to waiting 2 months since that happened? So, yeah. And in addition, just one other note on code enforcement. Government is not a just us job. It's everyone's job. Everyone participates in some level. If there are 8,000 sets of eyes in the city, not just a few dozen, and the more help we can get with information regarding issues with code enforcement, such as specifics like where are these junk cars that you may be seeing, that helps tremendously, as opposed to just saying go find them yourself. So thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. So with that, we are going to move on to the city manager's report. Austin Blease.
Mayor and Councilors, the report is in front of you. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. Last month, Council noted the golf course operating. We'll note again this month they are up about $124,000 for the year. So, otherwise, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
A couple of questions. First is regarding the golf course. We went to the groundbreaking, and it looks like, according to a video, they're doing pretty rapid work.
Yeah, they are moving along well, slightly ahead of schedule at this point, but they're doing a great job so far. Brookstone's doing well.
There's no rain to get in the way.
Makes it a little easier.
Unfortunately, you're right.
One other thing on the app, I know that we encourage citizens to use that to report issues. I know that we're going through some software issues from time to time. Is that feature on the app going to be available at any point?
Yeah, you can report
soon?
issues on the app still.
Okay.
Yeah, there were issues back in the spring but those were resolved a while ago.
Perfect.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions for the city manager, we will move on. We've already taken care of the consent agenda, so that brings us to the regular agenda, in which we're going to consider at the top. That was what was originally item G5, consider ordinance number 2023-19, adopting the utility rate study and rate calculation methods, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jersey Village, Texas, Chapter 70, Utilities, by amending certain articles and sections of Chapter 70 to provide for amendments to water and wastewater rate schedules, providing a severability clause, providing for repeal, providing a penalty as provided by Section 1.8 of the Code, and providing an effective date. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and Councilors, we undertook this rate study to ensure that our structure that we have in place is adequate to meet the needs of the utility fund and the city in the coming years. The last rate study was completed by an outside firm in 2020 at a cost of about $50,000. We did this one in-house. Since 2020, inflation and product costs have risen dramatically. Water and sewer maintenance in the U.S. The city average all urban consumers CPI increased by 11.94% from January 2020 to January 2023. So this study here incorporates the 10-year capital improvement plan that we have in place. We currently are utilizing Jones & Carter to assist us in updating that capital improvement plan, and that's being done in conjunction with our impact fee study. So the study recommends a rate structure adjustment to recover the cost to provide services. In order to achieve the revenue projections needed to meet our projected expenditures and capital improvements, we would need the increases listed here. In the base fee for water and wastewater, a 20% increase in fiscal 24, and then a 15% increase in water volume and wastewater volume fee, with 10% increases scheduled out for the upcoming years after that. So the adjustments the adjustments and the increases there are shown on page 454 of the packet as to what the rates would be. The biggest change to this would be doing away with the sewer averaging that is the city has historically done. Part of the study looked at other cities and who does sewer averaging and who does not. We can also look at some of the MUDs in the area. Some of the MUDs, which we've witnessed firsthand, that are part owners in the White Oak Biotreatment Plant, are very low, and so low where they can't quite meet their commitments. So we do have all that information in the rate study. We'll note that since May of 2021 to May of 2023, our water costs from the city of Houston are up about 36% on a per 1,000-gallon basis. And our water from the North Harris County Regional Water Authority is actually slightly down. They decreased their rates back in January, I believe it was. So those rates are down about 12%. So we're roughly 25% more in what our water costs are. And we do buy the bulk of our water from the city of Houston, not the Regional Water Authority. There's just not enough capacity in that well to handle that much. So we have to buy it from the city, and helps reduce our groundwater with subsidence as well. Part of the change for the not going away from the sewer averaging, people could install a second meter for irrigation. Those meters, the last price we had about 6 weeks ago was about $280. That price might have gone up a little bit, but I think that's still fairly close as well. So there is that option because irrigation meters do not have the sewer costs attached to it. Happy to answer any other questions that the council might have.
Okay. Questions and discussion amongst council?
I think it's something I've noticed, or I think what we need to make sure that people are understanding is, because that was something I've always been a little confused on myself, is the importance of having that second meter for your irrigation purposes. And what people don't understand is why you pay the same for the water coming out of it. If it's an irrigation meter, you're not paying for the sewer on it because it's not going into the sewer, it's going into your yard. So if you're going to be watering your plants, if you're going to be clearly irrigating anything, you need to be using that second meter because it does save you it saves you a substantial sum, especially if your yard is larger and you water according to what Drew Lawson tells you to with whatever app he follows, because he's an amateur weatherman and gardenist, arborist. So anyways, it does make a big difference. So that is something, if you do not have a second meter for irrigation, I would highly suggest looking into it, because if you start looking, for some people, it could pay for itself within a few months. I think it's worth it.
Any other discussion on this item?
Couple questions for the city manager. One, when would this take effect?
This would be for October 1st.
October 1. And I think in previous briefings, you had told us that the city of Houston is also expected to raise their rates again coming up.
Yeah, we do expect them. They typically raise their rates in the spring, April-ish, I want to say, April, May. But we do expect their historic 10 to 15% increases to continue as well.
Do we take that into account in this study?
We do, yep.
And for those scoring at home, I think the water scheduling is watermyyard.org.
The Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension.
That's correct.
That's exactly what I said, verbatim.
So I'll just say, no one likes to pay more for stuff. I think that's an obvious one, right? The one good thing about the utility fund is all the money that goes in goes towards maintaining our water and our sewer. So you know that whatever money you are paying in goes towards that. And unfortunately, it's just a situation where the cost of actually maintaining the system and providing the service that everyone expects has gone up and probably will continue to go up. Obviously, we do whatever we can to try to keep those to a minimum. And the key way to do that is to make sure that we're doing regular maintenance, that we're maintaining our infrastructure, and not getting into the trouble we see with some, like we mentioned, some of the MUDs or maybe some other cities in the area that maybe just kick the can down the road because it's politically expedient to do so, and then they wind up in trouble later on because they can't meet their obligations to maintain their infrastructure in the future. So by getting ahead of it now, we avoid a lot of bigger problems later on. So I think this is, it's not great, but it's a lot better than the alternative. So with that, unless anyone else had anything to add, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I will echo what Councilwoman McCray said. A irrigation meter will pay off that investment very fast. It is worth looking into. I move to approve ordinance 2023-19.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to the top of our regular agenda, item H1, consideration and approval of an ordinance 2023-21 calling a bond election to be held within the city of Jersey Village, Texas, making provisions for the conduct and the giving of notice of the election and containing other provisions related thereto. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and councilors, based upon the conversations that we've had over the last few months and last month, we have before you tonight the ordinance to call the bond election. Right now we have the three questions for pool, parks, water and sewer, and then road and bridges. The city will enter into at least one, maybe more election agreements with Harris County Elections for the election services to conduct the election. So this item here is to call the bond election, authorize the posting and publication of the notice, and authorize the election agreement with Harris County. If council has financial questions, John Roebuck, our financial advisor, is here as well, and he'd be very happy to answer any questions we might have.
All right. Discussion amongst council.
Question I had, and this may not be the line item to talk about it, but I have had some thought and reconsideration on how we've broken out the, I don't know what you want to call them, propositions. Thank you. I do think we need to have them broken out in more detail as opposed to having them combined like we talked about before. I think it's just cleaner to be able to vote on them that way.
Sure, I understand that. I don't know if John can speak to that one, but at this point I'm questioning whether or not we would be able to meet all the timelines that would be required to get it translated and get everything submitted to the Harris County. I don't know if John can help us in that one or Justin.
Oh, he's coming up. That was my thought. I'm glad that you think that. I would love to have that discussion, but I think that was last month. And
it's the last day we can call a bond election to get it on the ballot for November. Otherwise, we'll wait till next May. I'm sure we could, if we had to, change it, but I know that the three propositions have actually already been pre-approved by the Attorney General's office, by your bond counsel. So they've all the projects have been checked out. If that means anything, you guys.
No, it's just takes us a long time to think about things and from one meeting to the next. So I understand. That was just, I'd slept a couple of times since then.
I would say that I kind of echo your sentiments on that, but I also feel, I guess the tough thing about this bond in general is part of the reason this has been, I think it's come as quick as it did, was the significant issues they're having with the pool, and it kind of forced our hand, I think. So I'm just confirming. So at this point, we would need to move forward with what we have here, or we would end up waiting until essentially the next election, which would be May, which would put us a whole nother year out on a pool, correct? With a hole in it.
Yeah, at
okay.
least.
I know we discussed the pool and parks last time, hence Councilmember Shepherd's question. I'm assuming there's some significant scale savings by combining these other bonds as well. That's a question, Mr. City Manager. I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Sure. We never really discussed combining these other issues, but I think it was because they're, as Mr. Fairclough pointed out in council comments, they were broken out. But is it easier on staff and probably more efficient to combine those other items?
Yeah, it's definitely obviously the easiest. And kind of like the council talked about last time, if there's changes in one price, we think this is the estimated cost for Congo Street, but that price could ebb or flow along with the other ones that we have out there. If council wanted to put each street out there individually or each pool park, I would call that rather unorthodox. I don't think most places do that. I think most places do, roads and bridges and this type of thing. We have all the information that we have for what we believe we'll be able to do with these funds. But to break it out into, each street being its own ballot proposition, that would be costly from a translation standpoint and elections running standpoint and everything like that.
Yeah, I think the other difficulty was also making sure that we ensured that in case there was a cost overrun with one particular part of the project and maybe a cost underrun in another, it allows you to move to utilize those funds more flexibly rather than breaking things out very discreetly and then being siloed with the use of those funds.
And Mayor, I'll say this too. Although you're not listing the streets.
Can I add
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Go right ahead, Michelle.
Can I add another point? I completely understand that it might be better for them both to be together for financial reasons, but also just the societal impact of it. Like having that specific area disrupted 2 different times apart is a lot on that housing and a lot on the school. And so if I can just condense that, that is also worth a lot for me.
And my point was the streets you've listed on your website, so that's not necessarily a contract with voters, but it is an obligation that these are the projects you're going to fund with them. So you don't have to list them on the proposition itself because you are limited in the amount of words you can put on those propositions. And you don't want voters to go to the polls and actually
I'm having a very hard time understanding you guys if you don't speak directly into the microphone.
Sorry about that.
Muffled.
Can you hear now?
I'm trying my best to lean in. But if you could speak a little closer. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
I was saying that the projects are listed on the website. So that's not necessarily a contract with voters, but it is essentially a contract saying that you're going to do those projects with the bond authorizations you're asking voters to approve. And again, you're limited on the amount of space on each proposition, and you don't want to have voters go to the polls and be voter fatigued by going through each proposition, having so many. But you've listed the projects on the website, which again allows voters to see which projects you're going to fund with the bond election.
I'm looking at Prop A, and I question how hard it would be to adjust Prop A. We already have the dollar amount split. Most of all this language is the exact same language. It seems to me like you could copy Prop A, strike municipal pool, make another prop, strike parks. I feel like they're not that different. Is it really that different?
But it's got to be approved by the Attorney General's office. It's going to take 2 weeks. We would assume that's about how long it took last time. It's got to be translated into your 4 or 5 different languages that are required. It's got to be uploaded to the county elections office. I just don't know that there's enough time to get all of that done in order to meet the deadlines that are out there.
So, and if I might add, the deadline for Harris County on bond language is August 30.
August 21st, August 30th. Thank you. I needed a stronger no, we can't do that. Thank you. Agreed.
I mean, when it comes down to it, this is how everybody keeps asking for letting voters have their say, and that's what we're doing here. And I do understand, maybe if it is more broken out, there's more likely to get certain things passed versus other stuff. But when it comes down to it, we're going to have to at some point make a decision if Jersey Village is moving forward or if Jersey Village is staying the same.
Well, I think, like we said, all the information is on the website of what it contains in detail. If someone goes to the ballot box and only reads these propositions I mean, they see the dollar amounts, who knows what they're going to vote. So I encourage everyone to tell their friends, tell their neighbors, read up on these in detail on the contents of what's asking. The other footnote I'll make, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me, is that we do not have to issue bonds for that entire amount. That's just our limit, right? And this does not mean that we will do everything included in there. For example, if we say we want the moon for Clark Henry Park and there's not enough cheese available, we won't purchase the moon for the park. Is that correct?
Oh my God.
Analogy aside.
Well, let me give a specific example. In discussions I've had with a lot of people out there, and based on the survey that's been done, I suspect this council is going to have a very strong conversation about the skate park that was proposed. Something tells me that's probably not going to make the cut. And so that's a good example. But at the same time, there's a lot of unknowns in terms of what costs are going to be when we do get to the point where we are starting to build. And so I would rather we take the chance with the amounts that are there and not have to use it than to have the opposite problem of we can only do a certain sliver of what we set out to do that citizens approved.
I don't want to jump down the side argument there. I've heard the skate park. I hope people don't judge people based on their cover. I think there's a lot of issues with some of the opinions on that. B and C are things we need to do. I just have frustration on half of it is want to do. Half of it is I want to get this done. We want to invest in this park. We need a pool. The rest of it's want to, and I think they should be separated out. But at this point, we gotta move forward. So we may as well vote and move forward.
I do think we get into splitting when we're talking about parks wants versus needs. I think one person's wants can be another person's needs and vice versa. In either case, the key here is that we are talking about projects that, although they serve different purposes to some degree within the park system, they are ultimately investments in our parks. In fact, they're investments in the exact same park. So if there are a lot of places that do bonds that are much more broad. Having one bond that deals with one park makes sense to me.
Can I make a motion? You all okay with that? I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-21, calling a bond election to be held within the city of Jersey Village, Texas, making provisions for the conduct and giving the notice of the election and containing other provisions related thereto.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCray, second by Councilmember Shepard. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to item H2, discuss and take appropriate action concerning the canvassing of the November 7th, 2023 election results. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Yes, so Mayor, the canvass is set for November the 21, and that is the absolute last day that we can conduct the canvass for the November 7 election. Harris County has indicated that they will get their election canvass numbers to us late on November 20 or early on November 21. So that kind of leaves us in a lurch as to when we're going to get the necessary quorum to conduct the canvass. Now, we only need 2 members of City Council to constitute a quorum for the purposes of canvassing the election. We also have a November 27 date set for the regular session City Council meeting. So we can do one of 2 things. We can move the November meeting up to the 21, which would be a Tuesday, and have everything all on that day. or we can just have the 2-member quorum of council to conduct the canvass on the 21 of November and keep our regularly scheduled November council meeting on the 27th. So this item is to kind of discuss that and come up with what council wants to do in terms of conducting the canvass and then conducting the regular session meeting in November.
Regarding rules, and this can go to you, Lori, or Justin, I guess, is there rules against the quorum being virtual, if necessary, like over a Zoom meeting?
I think you're going to have 2 people present.
Physically present? Okay.
But the thing would be that you need 2 members to have physically present to meet the quorum, but if everyone else was able to attend virtually, then we could do that too.
I'm available for both.
I most likely could be. I know that I'm fine with the 21st. I'm not in favor of moving the whole meeting to the 27th. We moved them, or from the 27th. We moved them for a reason, and I'd like to hold to that reason.
I agree. We moved them because of the holiday and the schedules, and I think we've already posted that, noticed. I think we need to keep it.
I'm happy with coming Monday and coming again on Tuesday, but knowing Harris County, we should probably do the 28th.
And Lori, I assume that I don't count for quorum for that purpose. No, okay. I know I don't in our city charter, but you never know. The state does crazy things. Just asking, checking all the boxes here.
So, did we want to set a time? If we're going to do it on the 21, do we need to set a time? Do we want to do it at 6 or 7?
I think either one would probably be fine. Anyone have any major issues?
I prefer 6.
I think the earlier would be better.
6 p.m.
Okay. And keeping in mind, it's pretty much just a ministerial act. It's just, what's done is done.
I'll have everything ready. That it'll go.
And if we don't get a quorum, I'll send Chief Riggs out to enforce quorum, like it's the Texas legislature. No, I'm kidding.
I'll be in Ardmore. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I assume that was all you needed, Lori? Okay. Unless anyone else had any other issues on this item, we'll move on. Okay. So then that brings us to item H3, conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 854.202H2, for the purpose of receiving oral comments from any interested persons concerning the proposal to allow an eligible City of Jersey Village employee who is a member of the Texas Municipal Retirement System to retire and receive a service retirement benefit if the member has at least 20 years of accredited service performed for one or more municipalities that have authorized eligibility. It's got my name on it. Let me bring up that item here. Okay, as we look to continue to be an employer of choice in the area so that we can best serve the residents and community, one idea that was looked at by the council was at our retirement option that the city offers. We are with the Texas Municipal Retirement System, TMRS, and it's a great program. We are currently a 25-year city, meaning that staff can retire after 25 years of service. The other option that TMRS offers is retirement after 20 years of service. Out of 923 cities in the TMRS program, there are 220 cities that are 25-year cities, while 703 are 20-year cities. This is the only area where Jersey Village does not fall into the majority with what other cities offer. And so I know that council has discussed this during our budget discussions, but did anyone else have any further questions or concerns or comments?
Looking for Mr. Fields. Didn't know if he wanted to speak on the hearing about this. For those to answer the question, this doesn't include health care, does it? It's just
no, health care is not provided. This is simply retirement.
And I also realized that I jumped the gun a little bit, and I read the actual ordinance memo as opposed to the public hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and Call to order the public hearing at 8:14 p.m. Everyone desiring to speak should complete a public hearing comment card and present the card to the city secretary. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to present information concerning the proposal to allow an eligible City of Jersey Village employee who is a member of the Texas Municipal Retirement System to retire and receive a service retirement benefit if the member has at least 20 years of credited service performed for one or more municipalities that have authorized eligibility. Before calling anyone to speak, I call upon Laura Capps, Human Resources Manager, to give a presentation concerning the change to the retirement system.
Good afternoon. You read the background information for the TMRS. Do I need to read it again, or okay?
Anything else you'd like to add to what I already stepped all over?
No, you're good. I don't have anything else to add. I think you pretty much covered it all, unless there's questions.
Laura, I would ask, every jurisdiction I've worked for and looked at working for or applied to work for has matched 200%.
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Yes, sir.
Most of them that I worked at, and the one I do now, 225 to 250%. Do you know of anyone in this geographical area that does less than 200? Because I thought it was pretty normal to not drop under that at all.
There, out of the 900 and something municipalities that is with TMRS, there might be 100 something estimate that has less than a 2 to 1 match. But for the majority, it is a 2 to 1 match.
And just so for those who maybe, I've never been in a pension, can you just kind of briefly explain exactly what that 2 to 1 match means in terms of between the employee and the employer?
Yeah, sure, exactly. So employees are required to contribute 7% of their paycheck. It's no more, no less. The city matches 2 to 1. So when an employee retires, if they're vested, they get invested after 5 years. So if you're vested, then you get the city's match as well. If you leave the city before you're vested, then you just get your contribution, obviously. But when they retire, they have 3 different options to choose from for their retirement benefits. It can be their only, or they can also select different retirement options for their survivors or their spouses. But it is up to them on if they want the payout or if they want a lifelong benefit.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, I can answer Councilman Singleton's question. So TMRS only has 3 options when it comes to the match: a 1 to 1, a 1.5 to 1, or a 2 to 1. So 2 to 1 is the highest match that they have. There's 107 people that have the 1.5 and 173 cities that offer the 1 to 1.
So it's better to work for a county or district. See, I'm a TCDRS, and TCDRS goes up to 2.1 to, or 2.5 to 1.
Don't say that too loudly.
It is better to work for a municipality.
They both have their pros and cons. 100%. They both have their pros and cons.
Either way, you can get service credit.
And the only other question I have is, I think we discussed this at one point. Do we know approximately what the cost to the city would be, for this change?
So what we budgeted last year versus what we budgeted this year, it's roughly $335,000, but that's also considering salary increases and stuff as well. So it's about a 0.99%.
So part of that was baked into just from the salary adjustments.
Correct.
So it's that not all of that is just on this adjustment.
Yeah, it looked like in the packet that's publicly available from the budget retreat, it would look like it was 37,000, I think, was the estimated impact.
Something right in there, yeah. It fell within the budget constraints that we have, or the budget that was adopted.
I'm sorry, Lori, what was that question?
I was just verifying that the cost is approximately $37,000.
I'd have to double check that number in the packet from the budget, but yeah.
Any other questions? I'll just say, we can get to the actual more discussion on this, but if there aren't any other questions for Laura, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, I do not currently have any cards for this public hearing. Is there any citizens in the audience who wish to speak on this topic? I want to make sure that I don't miss anybody. Okay, great. There being no one desiring to speak, I now close this public hearing on the proposal to allow an eligible City of Jersey Village employee who is a member of the Texas Municipal Retirement System to retire and receive a service retirement benefit if the member has at least 20 years of credited service performed for one or more municipalities that have authorized eligibility at 8:20 p.m. And so now we actually are going to item H4, consider ordinance number 2023-22 regarding retirement eligibility for the Texas Municipal Retirement System. And we've already heard from Laura and myself about what this is about. So any other discussion from council on this?
No, I move to approve ordinance 2023-22.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Let's see. We do have a ordinance, or I'm sorry, a record vote on this, I think. Do we? No, we don't. Sorry. Whew. So many scripts. Finally done with this. Okay. No, we don't. Okay, so unless there's any further discussion, seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to item H5, consider resolution number 2023-41 addressing scheduling conflicts for the regular session city council meetings to be held in February 2024 and October 2024 in order to accommodate scheduling conflicts with the 2024 Harris County election activities. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. So back in 2015, the city made an agreement, kind of a handshake oral agreement with Harris County that we would offer our facilities for them to conduct election activities. Next year, 2024, is going to be a presidential election. Our agreement with them was that when we do have a presidential election, we would permit them to use this room right here, the auditorium, because they have the primaries and they have a bunch of additional voting machines. They have to split them up and whatnot. And so we agreed to that. This year, it's going, next year when we conduct the February election, the February activities for primaries and whatnot, it's going to cause a scheduling conflict with the council meeting. So currently we have our February 26th council meeting scheduled, and that's going to fall right in the middle of early voting. So I gave you several solutions to the conflict in the meeting packet. I'll kind of need to get you guys to review those and let me know what you would like to do with that. There's also a conflict in the October meeting. It's currently scheduled for October 2-1. That's an easy fix because we can just move it up a week to October 14. So we do need to pass a resolution because we do have a resolution standing already setting the February date. So if you have any questions.
Okay, discussion amongst council on this.
I think we've made a commitment to the recording equipment and posting these meetings on YouTube, and I would like to keep that as a value as we have this discussion. So I'm not in favor of Mark, Chief, as much as I like your facility. I'd rather have the meeting over here. So I would be more interested in moving the meeting. My question about meeting option 2, it talks about the meeting having to be done at 7. Is there not a way that we could bring in extra staff to have the front door of the building open so they can access the U-shaped room? Seems to me like option 1 is the way to go, but option 2 seems like we could also, if we wanted to do it that day, we could just make arrangements to have the doors open over there and staff available to walk them to the room.
That could work. I suppose we also do have a door straight to the outside from the U-shaped room if we wanted to do that route.
Are you talking about for voters going in and out? Sorry.
I think it would be meeting attendees.
Yeah, it would be the meeting attendees because we're going to we would have the meeting there, but there's no recording equipment in there, so I would recommend that we go with rescheduling both of these meetings to a week prior.
Could we do the 19th instead of the 12th?
It's a school holiday, which is why we moved it from the 19th to the 26th. President's Day, I believe. George Washington's birthday. Yeah.
I mean, the concern with moving it to the 12th is just the proximity to the January meeting.
So when, and I think this is probably in here, but oh, there it is right there, February 20th. I was trying to figure out when early voting actually started, so it does kind of butt up right against that. I mean, I don't think it's a major issue that we have that there's only 3 weeks between the January meeting and the February meeting. I mean, I think we've had regular meetings, I think, that close together before, so I don't think it's a major issue.
It would just be kind of a quick turnaround from a staff perspective. It would be a light agenda at that point because we'd only have about 2 weeks to do our stuff before we get out to the council, which is certainly fine. It would just be a lighter agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm full of ideas today, but if not the, what did y'all say, the 19th? Yeah, the 20th, Tuesday night.
The 20th would be part of the voting.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Okay.
And that's why I was looking for the start of the voting.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is your original suggestion, James, I need to put this together, that hold it on 26th or the 20, whatever, during voting, put it that way, and we delay the meeting till after voting is over with and make accommodations for the voting area?
No. And my original problem was that I would prefer we record and do it in this room. Yeah. Option 2, 3, 4 here don't align with that value. So I was asking, clarifying option 2 as, maybe recording is not as important for other people, but it sounds like it is. And so I was looking at a way to make it work in this building. Doesn't sound like that's important enough because all of us agree that to some extent recording is important here. And so I would move in a moment to say that we go with February 26th and
you mean February 12th?
Oh, yes, February 12th, right at the wrong place. And then the October 14th. So.
I would agree. Those are the two easiest.
I'd concur with all that.
Okay. I'm going to move to approve Resolution 2023-41, addressing scheduling conflicts for regular sessions, moving the February 26th, 2024 regular session council meeting to February 12th, 2024, and moving the October 21st, 2024 regular session council meeting to October 14th, 2024.
With both meetings at 7 p.m.?
Yes.
Oh, I'll second.
And everyone falling asleep. Okay, we have a motion and we have a
Really
second.
long.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. That brings us to item H6, consider ordinance number 2023-24, amending the general fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023 in the amount not to exceed $105,000 by increasing line item 01396598, miscellaneous equipment, $55,000, increasing line item 01336580, building and ground improvement, $50,000, decreasing line item 3001 salaries by $55,000, and decreasing line item 01333001 salaries by $50,000 to cover the purchase of robotic mowers and to upgrade the employed gym located at the fire department, and authorizing the city manager to purchase the equipment. Robert Bassford, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This no net impact budget amendment is being brought forth due to some staffing vacancies we experienced throughout the year. It's provided an opportunity for us to complete a couple projects we had on our lists. The first project is to purchase some robotic mowers to assist the Parks Department with their mow schedule. This allows us to incorporate project days within our operating schedule during the heavy grow seasons rather than just mowing routinely.
I want to make a note that we just lost Michelle.
Oh, she got disconnected here.
She said her internet went out.
Well,
okay, make a note.
I think we're just we'll see if she's able to reconnect, but otherwise we're going to move on. So a discussion from I'm sorry, Robert was continuing the explanation.
Okay, yeah. So the first project is the purchase of robotic mowers. These mowers will be purchased from Husqvarna in the amount of $41,119.87. This mower has been beta tested on the golf course. We used it on 2 holes. It's fully autonomous, charges itself, and can reduce some operating hours for sure. This project would include also running some power and building like a docking station for the robots to house themselves and charge. The second project would be a complete renovation of the employee gym located at the fire department. Most of the equipment has reached the end of its lifespan, and this project fits the needs of the fire department's growing staff while also addressing another goal to provide excellent benefits to our employees. We would upgrade the treadmill, the elliptical, add a stepper machine, add another power rack, and upgrade the free weights and the benches. The power rack would be purchased from Jacked Up brands in the amount of $4,270 to match the existing rack, and the remaining equipment would be purchased from Advanced Exercise in the amount of $40,802. We also plan to add a few accessories, a TV, a speaker, to really complete the gym project. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, discussion amongst council on this item.
I would note that while the workout room is housed at the fire department, it has improved the wellness of every employee in the city, and we should absolutely invest in that. And I've seen robotic mower Hank pretty popular on YouTube, on social media lately, and I think we've seen good success of that program, and that we should move forward with this.
I think between improving employee benefits, right, for this cost, if you divide it by the number of employees over the lifespan of this equipment, which had a question about that, but whatever it is, it's a great investment towards that. And then if you can automate rote activities and then let the employees concentrate on more critical thinking and more critical activities that they can apply their skills to, I think that's a win for everyone. So I think this is a good investment, and it happens to be from salaries saved, and it will save salaries in the future. The question I had was, how long do we expect this equipment? I mean, what's end of life on an equipment?
For the fitness equipment or for the robots?
Fitness, or both, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fitness with the new technology, it's got a lot longer lifespan. I just know, some of the weights that are consistently, and we've gotten some complaints about the treadmill, just kind of being outdated. So it's just kind of getting a full new set. These will probably have rubber coating on them as well, new plates, new bumper plates, lifting bars, benches, so on and so forth.
I will say, wasn't the original equipment donated? Like it was already secondhand when we got it? Yeah. I will say, unless you've really been paying attention, you wouldn't realize how much Chief Bits gets stuff done over there with on a shoestring sometimes. Not on the stuff that's critical, mission critical, but obviously your guys have put in a lot of time over there to make renovations and especially with the kitchen and all of that, but also like taking advantage of the opportunity to get donated equipment for workout equipment and all of that. So they've obviously been, it's not just for the fire department, but they've been making things work on like I said, on a shoestring budget on that stuff for a while. So it makes sense that it's probably well past time to go ahead and replace the stuff. And obviously, I know that we want all of our employees to be healthy, and it's beneficial not just from a holistic standpoint for the employees, but even looking at it economically in terms of health insurance costs and all of that. So it's a really good thing all the way around.
I was just curious, if you don't mind, do all employees have access to this?
Yes.
Do y'all keep any kind of data tracker who uses it or how often it's used?
I know it's grown in popularity just through word of mouth, but we will have access control system, so we'll be able to monitor that in the future. Does the current one have the data history?
No.
I haven't been over there, but I've heard there's some informal competitions, right? So there's already some anecdotal evidence that it's widely used.
Yeah, I think with the establishment of the Employee Engagement Committee and, our TML benefits, there have been some health challenges through that app that a lot of our employees have been using. And it just seems to be growing in popularity right now, but I've entered one or two.
The rowing competitions are quite intense.
And the last thing I was just going to say is also, yes, it is for all employees, but also I know if my house were to catch fire and I were trapped inside and one of the firefighters had to come in and get me out, I would be glad to know that they had that equipment available to be able to haul my butt out of my burning house. So I think it's to everyone's benefit.
And I think to second that, there is specialized bags that we're purchasing that go over the shoulders too, so they'll be able to have more specialized training.
He just called you a bag.
And you know what? Maybe there may be robots that would take care of it. I don't know, but if robots can mow lawns, why not?
I will say, even though it's in the fire station, I've seen police officers, parks employees, the city manager, HR. I've seen a bunch of people over there. Abram comes nearly every morning, so it's for the benefit of all employees.
Well, good deal. All right. Unless there's any other discussion, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion this time.
Move to approve ordinance 2023-24.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes, or the ordinance passes. That brings us to mayor and council comments. I'm going to start down on this end with Councilmember Shepherd.
The only thing that I wanted to say tonight is I know there's been several comments about salaries and how we pay our people. And we don't just make the decision willy-nilly. We do salary surveys, we do salary studies, and we get data to understand how competitive we are in the market, and we want to make sure that we're in that median range. We're not at the bottom of the range, and we're not at the very top of the range. And I think it's very important, when it's been proven that your employees are more productive when they are working in a very positive, healthy environment. And that's what council has decided, that we want to make sure that our environment is that, so that we retain talented people going forward. So this is a conscious decision that we've made as a council, and we've made this in previous councils as well. So when there are comments about salaries and how we pay our people, it's because we've made that decision.
Councilmember Wasson.
I will agree with everything Councilmember Shepherd said about the salaries and the benefits and the training we provide, and add that it's far more expensive to replace a worker than it is to give them a slight bump in salary. So let's, it's well worth the cost that we're investing in these people. and that we can retain. The other thing is, after long last, school starts this next Monday, and so go JV Falcons. In fact, they have their first official football game on the 24th. So more important than football are school zones, so pay attention. Summer kind of lulls you to sleep on these things, so where you see them, pay attention. We have 2 schools inside the city limits, so make sure that we're driving 20 or less during the posted hours. Thanks, everybody, and have a great school year.
Councilmember Singleton.
I was going to echo school starting, and that means changes to traffic patterns and more kids out walking, and be very careful. The other thing to be very careful at is it's very, very dry outside. Be very, very mindful about how dry, and anyway, right, don't play with matches, don't discard your cigarettes, just be really careful. So earlier somebody compared city departments, and I would be very careful comparing city departments, because while a budget tells a story, a budget tells you what your priorities are and shows where the city's going, you can't compare streets and wastewater to parks just by the salary and say, well, you care more about this than that. One example is that water moves by machines every day, and it's just preventive maintenance. Streets is very limited project day to day, and to do major things, it requires far more manpower, and you end up calling a contractor in because we can't keep all those people on staff. Parks, on the other hand, requires constant maintenance. There's somebody to cut the grass, clean the sidewalks, do equipment. And yes, I've had some concerns. I've brought concerns to the city manager recently, and he is working on those. We just approved robotic lawnmowers to help some of those things. So be very careful comparing city departments and saying that we care about one thing versus another. Earlier, a member of the audience provided some unsolicited advice, and it wasn't really a disruption, but my apologies. I shouldn't have dropped and replied to that comment. I didn't mean to. That was unprofessional, so my apologies.
Councilmember McCray.
I got nothing.
I will just say, just to piggyback off of the discussion about investing in our employees, if you haven't read my mayor's newsletter for this month, you should. It was exactly on this topic. And the reason why I bring it up is because we can spend all the money we want on streets and on parks and on facilities and things of that nature. At the end of the day, in order to keep those things productive and providing the best value that they can for our citizens, we need employees who maintain them and staff them and ensure that we are getting the most value for the money that we invest in these things. And there are very few things we can agree on as citizens of the city. I guarantee you the one thing that nearly all of us would agree on is that we have high expectations for the services that we get from our city, certainly more so than you would have from, say, the city of Houston or some other places. And the only way that happens is with talented, dedicated employees. We don't have a huge city staff, but we do have a very talented, dedicated set of employees here, and we want to try to keep as many of them as we can. And in order to do that, we have to continue to be competitive. So that's why we're making the investment that we are. So with that, we are going to move into executive session. The City Council is now going to retire to a closed session at 8:43 p.m. pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and Section 551.071, consultations with attorney in connection with the following item. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and Section 551.071, consultations with attorney, a closed meeting to deliberate information from a business prospect that that the city seeks to locate in Jersey Village TERS Number 2 and economic development negotiations, including the possible purchase, exchange, or value of real property related thereto. We will return to open session and continue with the remainder of tonight's agenda after the closed session deliberations are concluded. Okay, the closed session ended at 10:15 p.m. and no official action or vote was taken. We're now resuming the regular session and meeting adjourned.